Good morning. Well, we are on the last day of the deep freeze in Alberta. Awesome. Gonna warm up, which is gonna be nice. Might be able to get outside. I take vitamin D, but I want the natural vitamin D from the sunshine. Oh, and I got to spend some quality time with my wife this weekend. And she has next weekend off as well. And Jacob's off this week because the schools are closed. He hadn't have to go to work. So it's really nice to have my family home. I'm here by myself mostly all the time because they work. But it's sure nice to spend some time with your family. Hold them dear because they're your closest. Your wife, your kids, all of this is so important to hold dear to them because the way this world is, you need that uplift when it comes to having that family quality time. All right. If I'm blowing some cold air, that's fine. That heater that I got a new heater, and it's really loud. So that's why I got it off. So we're into 2 Timothy today. And I read the introduction on Friday. So now we're going to get into the actual commentary on 2 Timothy. All right. Timothy had been with the apostle in Rome, whence he was probably sent to Philippi. Philippians 2:19. The most loving and intimate relations existed between them, and Paul continually refers to him as his own child in the faith. His father was a Greek, but his mother was a Jewess. Acts chapter 16, verse 1. His grandmother Lois and his mother were believers, and he seems to have inherited their faith. He was constantly associated with the apostle in his labors, often being sent on some mission which Paul himself could not fulfill. His name is joined with Paul's in the salutation of 6 of his epistles. 2 Corinthians chapter 1:1, Philippians chapter 1 verse 1, Colossians chapter 1 verse 1, 1 Thessalonians 1:1, 2 Thessalonians 1:1, and Philemon 1. And these are the salutations, the beginning of the epistles, of 6 of them. Chapter 1 verse 1 in all of them. He seems to have suffered imprisonment for a time, but was set at liberty. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 23. Excuse me. Paul gives him the highest possible praise, so that he himself is given as an example of true service. And the letters sent to him are most important to all who wish to engage in a like service. The apostles' prolonged imprisonment and the growing evils which were creeping into the ecclesias seem to have had the effect of dampening and discouraging Timothy. To counteract this testimony, the apostle reminds him that God's calling is not dependent on men's acts, but on his own purpose and grace. And this cannot be disturbed or hindered by the flood of evil, for it was given us in Christ Jesus before Aeonian times. The eons are the times of evil. Before the times of the eons there was no evil, neither will there be any after they have run their course. As a result, God's purpose is before and above evil, and we should not be unduly moved by its presence. Death is sin's ultimate. The crucifixion of Christ is the furthest limit to which sin can go. The vivification of Christ is the first step in the abolition of death. He can die no more. At his coming advent, the saints will triumph over death and receive Aeonian life. Its final abolition, however, is at the end of the eons, called the consummation. The abolition of death is put in indefinite and aorist tense, as he has done it in his own case, and will do it for all in the future. The transcendent truths committed to the Apostle Paul always meet with opposition and bring suffering on their exponents. But God himself guards them and revives them from time to time, even through the vast majority of his saints, even though the vast majority of his saints hardly know of their existence. The pattern of sound words is one of the most serious needs for the student of the Scriptures. If it was necessary for Timothy to cling to the particular Greek expressions used by the apostle, how much greater is the need for some definite pattern on which to model the words of a version? How can the English reader hope to fulfill this exhortation when the translations which he uses publicly proclaim their avoidance of any uniformity or pattern in their production? And that's number one, the King James Version. The constant and consistent use of correct terms is one of the greatest possible aids in assimilating and teaching truth. The greatest hindrance is the inconsistent use of inexact terms, which have their force nullified by use in incorrect context. The grace which is in Christ Jesus is a most comprehensive expression, including all the infinite favor associated with a present acknowledgement of Christ's exaltation in the heavens. Salvation, justification, reconciliation, and every spiritual blessing among the celestials is surely enough to invigorate all who appreciate their possession even in a feeble measure. To inflict evil is the object of the world's soldiers. All their training is to this end. To suffer evil is the duty of the ideal soldier in the ranks of faith. The most important principle, almost unheeded effort and endeavor, is of no avail in God's service unless it be in strict conformity to the rules. Hence it is of prime importance to acquaint ourselves first of all with God's instructions and adhere to them closely. Otherwise, the most pretentious effort, which seems to meet with most success, may be utterly rejected at the judge's hand. Do not attempt to work for God until you know the will of God. All right, we're going to stop there and go into the next part of this tomorrow. It's amazing. And I think after 2 Timothy, I'm going to go into 1st and 2nd Thessalonians. And then 1st and 2nd Corinthians. Why not? I did 1 Corinthians. What am I talking about? Maybe 2 Corinthians. Anyway, have a beautiful Monday. We will talk to you tomorrow. Grace and peace.